7 Simple Habits to Eliminate Stress. Stoic Philosophy. Introduction. Stress is the modern plague. It creeps into your day without invitation, settles into your shoulders, clouds your thinking, and drains your energy before noon. Most people treat stress like weather, something that happens to them, something they endure until it passes. But the Stoics knew better. They understood that stress isn't caused by external events. It's caused by how you judge those events, how you attach meaning to them, and how you respond. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, wrote his meditations not from a place of ease, but from constant pressure. He dealt with plague, war, political intrigue, and the weight of an empire. Yet he remained calm. Why? Because he had mastered something most people never learn: the art of separating what matters from what doesn't. The Stoics didn't eliminate stress by avoiding problems. They eliminated stress by changing their relationship to problems. This isn't philosophy for the weak or the avoidant. It's a practical system for mental strength, built by people who faced real adversity and came out unbothered. This script walks you through 7 simple habits rooted in Stoic philosophy that will fundamentally change how you experience stress. These aren't complicated. They're not trendy. But they work because they target the root cause of stress, not your circumstances, but your mind. Habit 1. Distinguish between what you control and what you don't. This is the foundation of Stoicism. Everything flows from this single principle. Epictetus, a former slave, taught that some things are within your control and some things are not. The things within your control are your judgments, your desires, your intentions, and your actions. Everything else, other people's opinions, your reputation, your wealth, your health, external outcomes, these are not fully in your control. Most people spend their entire lives stressed about things they cannot control. You worry about what your boss thinks. You stress about whether a client will say yes. You lose sleep over whether people like you. You panic about economic conditions. You obsess over weather, traffic, and other people's behavior. Here's what the Stoics realized: this is insanity. You're expending emotional energy on things that don't respond to your effort. It's like trying to control the ocean with your hands. The first habit is simple: make a list. Write down what's stressing you right now. Then, for each item, ask yourself one question: is this within my control? Your presentation is tomorrow, and you're nervous. Is the outcome within your control? Partially. You can prepare, practice, and show up. But whether the audience likes it, whether they're impressed, whether it leads to promotion, those outcomes are not fully in your control. So stop stressing about them. Instead, focus on what you can control: your preparation, your effort, your mindset walking into the room. Your relationship is struggling. Is your partner's behavior within your control? No. Is their decision to stay or leave within your control? No. What is within your control? How you communicate, whether you listen, whether you show up with integrity, whether you do your part. That's it. Your health is declining. Is aging within your control? No. Is illness within your control? Not entirely. But is your diet within your control? Yes. Is exercise within your control? Yes. Is how you respond to setbacks within your control? Yes. The magic happens when you stop fighting reality and start directing your energy where it actually works. Most of your stress comes from one source: you're trying to control the uncontrollable. The moment you accept that certain things are outside your domain, you stop wasting energy. You stop tensing up. You stop lying awake at night. You start focusing on what actually matters. This habit alone will cut your stress in half. Not because your problems disappear, but because you stop multiplying your problems by fighting against reality. Habit 2. Practice negative visualization. This sounds dark, but it's one of the most powerful stress reduction techniques ever created. Negative visualization is simple. Regularly imagine losing the things you have. Imagine your health declining. Imagine your loved ones leaving. Imagine your job disappearing. Imagine your home burning down. This isn't morbid. It's protective. Here's why it works. most stress comes from taking things for granted and then being shocked when they change. You assume your job is permanent until you're fired. You assume your health is solid until you get bad news. You assume your relationship will always be there until it isn't. When reality hits, the shock and resistance create massive stress. But if you regularly practice imagining loss, something shifts. You stop taking things for granted. You start appreciating what you have. And when difficulty actually comes, and it will, you're not blindsided. You've already mentally prepared. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic writers, regularly practiced this. He would imagine losing his wealth, his status, his freedom. Not to be depressed, but to inoculate himself against fear. He would sleep on a hard bed occasionally, eat simple food, wear rough clothes, not as punishment, but to practice hardship. When he had to face real difficulty, he was ready. The habit is this: once a week, spend 10 minutes imagining difficult scenarios. Your company downsizes and you lose your job. What would you do? How would you adapt? What's your plan? Your partner breaks up with you. How would you move forward? Someone you love dies. How would you cope? This isn't about dwelling or being negative. It's about removing the shock from difficulty. It's about realizing that you could handle these things. You're stronger than you think. There's a secondary benefit. When you imagine losing what you have, you realize how much you actually have. The roof over your head. The food in your belly. The people who care about you. Running water. Freedom of movement. Most people in history would trade everything they own for what you have right now. Negative visualization doesn't make you depressed. It makes you grateful. And gratitude is one of the most powerful antidotes to stress. Habit 3. Reframe your thoughts. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology has confirmed. Your thoughts create your emotions, not your circumstances. Two people experience the same event. One becomes stressed, anxious, and depressed. The other remains calm and focused. The difference isn't the event. It's how they interpret it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This is the essence of cognitive reframing. You don't control what happens, but you control how you interpret what happens. Your boss criticizes your work. One interpretation: I'm terrible at my job. I'm going to get fired. My career is over. This creates anxiety and panic. Another interpretation: my boss is giving me feedback. This is useful information. I can improve. This creates motivation and clarity. You make a mistake in a presentation. One interpretation: everyone thinks I'm incompetent. This was humiliating. I'll never recover. Another interpretation: I made a mistake. I learned something. Next time will be better. Different interpretations, same event, completely different stress levels. The habit is this: when you feel stress rising, pause. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this situation? Is that story true? Is there another way to interpret this? Here are some common reframes. When something bad happens, instead of, "This is terrible," try, "This is an opportunity to practice resilience." Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" try, "What can I learn from this?" When you fail at something, instead of, "I'm a failure," try, "I failed at this task, which means I have information about what doesn't work." Instead of, "I'm not good enough," try, "I'm not good enough yet, but I'm learning." When someone treats you badly, instead of, "They're attacking me," try, "They're struggling with their own stuff." Instead of, "They disrespected me," try, "They acted poorly, but that says nothing about my worth." When facing uncertainty, instead of, "Everything could go wrong," try, "I'll handle whatever comes." Instead of, "I don't know what will happen," try, "I'll figure it out when I get there." The Stoics weren't about positive thinking or pretending bad things are good. They were about accurate thinking. They were about seeing situations clearly, without the distortion of anxiety, judgment, and catastrophizing. Your thoughts are within your control. This is your superpower. Habit 4. Focus on your process, not the outcome. This habit will transform how you experience pressure and stress. Most stress comes from obsessing about outcomes you don't fully control. You stress about whether you'll get the job, whether the deal will close, whether people will like your work, whether you'll succeed. This is backwards. The Stoic approach is different. You control your effort, your preparation, your strategy, your integrity. You do not control whether you win or lose, whether you succeed or fail by external measures. So the habit is this: shift your focus entirely to your process. Make your goal not, "I will close this deal," but, "I will prepare thoroughly, make a compelling case, answer every objection, and follow up professionally." Make your goal not, "I will get this job," but, "I will research the company deeply, prepare my stories, practice my answers, and interview with full presence." When your goal is the outcome, you're anxious. You're checking results obsessively. You're disappointed when things don't go your way. You're stressed about factors outside your control. When your goal is the process, you're calm. You know exactly what you need to do. You do it. You move on. Whether the outcome matches your hopes is secondary. You did your part. There's a paradox here. When you stop obsessing about outcomes and focus on process, your outcomes usually improve. Why? Because you're putting your energy where it actually matters: your effort, your attention, your skill. You're not wasting mental energy on worry. Think about an athlete. A golfer standing over a putt who thinks, "I need to make this," is tense. A golfer who thinks, "I'll swing smoothly and trust my technique," is calm. Guess who makes more putts? This applies to everything. In your job, stop thinking, "I need to impress my boss," and start thinking, "I'll do excellent work." In relationships, stop thinking, "They have to like me," and start thinking, "I'll show up with authenticity and care." In health, stop thinking, "I have to lose weight," and start thinking, "I'll eat well and exercise consistently." The outcome will take care of itself if you take care of your process. Habit 5. Practice voluntary discomfort. This habit sounds backwards, but it's profoundly stress-reducing. Most stress comes from fear. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of hardship, fear of being uncomfortable. We spend our entire lives trying to avoid discomfort. This makes us fragile. It makes us fearful. It makes us stressed about anything that threatens our comfort. The Stoic solution: deliberately seek discomfort. Not masochism. Not punishment. But controlled exposure to difficulty so that you become anti-fragile. Seneca practiced this regularly. He would eat poor food. He would sleep on a hard bed. He would wear cheap clothes. He would deliberately experience minor hardships. Why? So that when real hardship came, it wouldn't destroy him. So that he wouldn't be a prisoner to comfort. Here's the modern version of this habit. Take a cold shower. Not because it's pleasant, but because it's uncomfortable and it trains you to handle discomfort. Start with 30 seconds. Build up. Notice how you feel before, during, and after. You realize you can handle it. You realize discomfort won't kill you. Fast occasionally. Skip a meal or do a day without eating. Again, not for health reasons necessarily, but to experience minor hunger and realize you're okay. You realize how much you actually need versus how much you want. Exercise hard. Push yourself beyond what's comfortable. Run when you don't feel like it. Do one more set of weights. Do a cold plunge. The point is to voluntarily do something difficult. Wake up early and do something productive before your day starts. Sit in meditation or silence when you'd rather be entertained. These are small discomforts that train your mind. Here's what happens. When you voluntarily experience discomfort, you stop being afraid of it. You realize that discomfort is survivable. You realize that you can function, even thrive, in difficult conditions. This removes a massive source of stress, the fear of hardship. And there's a bonus. When your normal life includes some discomfort, you're less stressed by unexpected discomfort. If you're used to cold showers and fasting and early mornings, losing a meal or sleeping poorly won't devastate you. You're prepared. This is why Stoics weren't soft or fragile despite their wisdom. They were tough. They trained themselves. And this training made them calm in crisis. Habit 6. Practice a more fatty love of fate. This is perhaps the most beautiful Stoic habit, and it's the ultimate stress killer. A more fatty means loving your fate. Not accepting it grudgingly. Not tolerating it. But actually loving it. Loving what happens, even the difficult parts. This sounds impossible. How can you love loss, pain, rejection, failure? The Stoic answer is this: these difficult experiences are essential to your growth. They're the friction that shapes you. They're the resistance that builds your strength. Without them, you wouldn't develop. You wouldn't learn. You wouldn't become who you're meant to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." So the habit is this: when something difficult happens, instead of resisting or resenting it, ask yourself, how can I love this? What gift is this difficulty giving me? What am I learning? How am I being shaped? Your project fails. You can resent it, or you can love it because it taught you something crucial about what doesn't work. Your relationship ends. You can bitter about it, or you can love it because it taught you about yourself and what you need. You face illness. You can rage against it, or you can love it because it forces you to confront what matters and to appreciate your body. This isn't toxic positivity or pretending bad things are good. It's recognizing that every experience, especially the difficult ones, is part of your development. When you practice a more fatty, your stress plummets. Why? Because you stop fighting reality. You stop saying, "This shouldn't be happening." You accept what is and you find the value in it. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Similarly, it's not the man who faces difficulty, but the man who resents difficulty, that suffers. The habit is this: daily, find one difficult thing that happened. Illness, rejection, failure, inconvenience. And consciously love it. Find the gift in it. Thank it for what it's teaching you. Over time, this rewires your entire relationship to difficulty. You stop being a victim of circumstance. You become someone who transforms every experience into growth. Habit 7. Remember your mortality. This is the final habit, and it's the simplest and most powerful. The Stoics practice memento mori, remembering that you will die. Not morbidly, but clearly. Not to be depressed, but to gain perspective. Here's the reality: you have a finite amount of time. It could be decades or it could be weeks. You don't know. But it's limited. And that changes everything. When you really absorb this, most of your stress becomes laughable. You're stressed about what someone said about you? You'll both be dead in 100 years. You're anxious about your presentation? You'll be forgotten in a few years. You're worried about money? You can't take it with you. This isn't nihilism. It's clarity. When you remember that everything is temporary, you stop sweating small things. You stop holding grudges. You stop postponing what matters. You start living. The habit is this: spend 5 minutes each morning or evening thinking about your death. Not morbidly. Just clearly. You're going to die. The people you love are going to die. This moment right now is literally the only moment you have. How do you want to spend it? This recalibrates your priorities instantly. Suddenly, your time becomes precious. You stop wasting it on stress about trivial things. You start directing it toward what actually matters: love, growth, contribution, meaning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." When you live with awareness of mortality, stress loses its grip. You're no longer afraid of missing out because you're fully present with what you have. You're no longer anxious about the future because you're focused on today. You're no longer resentful about difficulty because you understand that these are the experiences that make a life. Conclusion: these 7 habits are not complicated. They're not trendy. They're not going to give you a quick fix. But they work because they address the actual source of stress: your mind, your judgments, your relationship to difficulty. The Stoics didn't eliminate stress by escaping the world. They eliminated stress by changing how they engaged with the world. They focused on what they controlled. They prepared for difficulty. They reframed their thoughts. They committed to process over outcome. They trained themselves through discomfort. They loved their fate. They remembered their mortality. And,